in one-person voters thought would be a saviour. If you're watching, have you lost confidence in Barack Obama? You can call us, country code 44 2070 83 72 72. We're going to go to Afghanistan in a moment, but first of all, let's pull up another email from T. It's coming through worldhaveyoursay.com. He's in New Zealand. He says he has done well enough, could have done better on Iraq and Guantanamo, didn't think any fresh thinking to the trench that is Afghanistan, which seems a very good point at which to speak to Asma, who's an Afghan-American live from Kabul. Asma, do you agree Barack Obama hasn't brought fresh thinking to the problems in your country?
I definitely do agree. And in fact, he has made a sort of outline but left out the details, especially when it comes to the strategy for Afghanistan. And that includes the civilian surge and also for the troop increase, which is fine, but then the deadline that he has set for June 2011, it's just impossible to achieve all the things that he has listed in such a short amount of time.
You don't think that by setting such a deadline, it might help focus the minds of not just the US military, but also of President Karzai and those in power with him? And it seems...
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I was just saying, by setting a deadline, Barack Obama could be argued to be setting a target which both Americans and Afghans can seize upon and will help focus their efforts in your country.
But it is very difficult to set that kind of a target when on the ground here you see what's missing. I mean, we have to work a lot with the ANA, the Afghan National Army, and the Afghan National Police. 70% of the Afghan National Army is illiterate. I mean, for that, it takes a lot of time to not only bring that up to date, bring the number of literacy, take care of that, but also to increase the number of troops in the Afghan National Army, which will take a lot of time. And just to start with the troops that we have in Afghanistan now, and I mean national troops, it's going to take much more time. And then adding more troops to that, it's definitely going to take.
So it's interesting, you started off by saying there's not the detail, but actually listening to you, it sounds that your frustration isn't so much with the lack of detail, but the fact you don't agree with the details that have been provided. Asma, thanks for speaking to us, and those of you watching, sorry about the picture quality and the delay on the sound, but I'm sure you can understand why we're prepared to tolerate that to speak to someone live from Kabul. We're going to bring in a World Have Your Say regular in a moment, NY Oil, who's an MC in New York. But let's quickly go back to Sheetal, who I think has got a point from one of you getting in touch on email.
That's right, Roz. Yes, it's Mike in New York who says Massachusetts means US voters still want change, but get nervous when change will affect them. There's been a noticeable decline in support for Obama from the middle independent voters.
Thank you very much, Sheetal. Let's bring in NY Oil. What about that point, NY, that Barack Obama hasn't successfully made the case to the middle ground in America that the change he's bringing is in their interests?
Well, I think it's a mistake to say that this particular election is a referendum on Barack Obama. I think that's a huge mistake. This is a referendum on the Democratic Party, who had a majority and failed to do anything of real significance in the 8 months that they held that 60-member majority. So what people are really saying is, wow, you guys had an opportunity to do something. You had a president in the office that's willing to make the sort of changes that the people want, and the people are behind that change. And yet, when the opportunity presents itself, all that they did was they almost filibustered themselves. They seemed like they started to have these divisions within party that made them inept and impotent. And so I think that that's what this is, a referendum against the Democratic Party. I think it's a mistake to say it's on Barack Obama. I don't believe that at all.
Well, let's bring in, I'd be interested to hear you speak with Carol, NY. Carol Swain's from Vanderbilt University. She's live in Washington, D.C. Carol, what would you say to NY? He says this isn't about the president. It's just about the Democrats having made a hash of campaigning in Massachusetts.
No, I think it is about President Obama's administration and the lack of transparency. There are people that supported him, many white Americans. I mean, he's lost the support of white Americans, and I don't believe that it's because of racism. I think it has to do with the policies that he's pursuing, and many African Americans are disappointed in him. It's not clear who's in charge.
Where do you base that off of? I don't even understand where you get that. That sounds just like you just made that up as you went along. Where did you get that from?
Which part? Which part? The part about
many
white
African
Americans?
Americans don't assume them, or white Americans.
I don't.
What do you base that on?
There are increasing numbers of African Americans that are publicly criticizing him, and so I don't have a poll data. I know
what do you
that.
base that? So you don't base it on anything. That's just your assumption or your feeling.
No, it's not my assumption or my feeling. I base the part about white Americans on the polling data that he had the goodwill, I think, of most Americans when he was elected. And as far as African Americans, there are increasing numbers that are willing to criticize him publicly, and some are saying that he is not doing enough for blacks in America. And
Well, I
so
think
when
that
he
we
was
shouldn't
first
mistake-
elected,
Well, let's not mistake
Go ahead.
criticism for
Go ahead.
vigilance. You know, saying it's important that we are vigilant and that we're cognizant of what goes on in government. And I think that most of what Barack Obama campaigned on was change that we can believe in, but it also required
but he has not done that. He's
by-
not been transparent. He's not been transparent
very
at all.
transparent.
He has lobbyists
he's
inside
been-
the White House writing the legislation, and the concessions he's made to labor. I mean, it's outrageous
Well,
what
do you
he's
know the
done.
biggest lobby that, well, if you consider what the biggest lobby is that's in the White House and that has access to the White House is the American people. We are the largest lobby of all, and our lobby is reflected as in yesterday with the election in
NYO, let's talk
sorry, go
about
ahead.
the concessions which were granted in that healthcare bill. Wasn't that just the kind of wheeler-dealing in Washington that Barack Obama and John McCain said they wanted to stop? And yet here we've had it for the past few months, building all the way up to this bill on healthcare. That's exactly what's been happening.
Well, I mean, we can't have
And
the
you know
expectation
something?
that the president is going to be a superhero that flies in and changes everything. We have three branches of government. There's not, the president of the United States doesn't make everything happen, and everything happens because of him. And I think that for someone to say that there's no transparency is indicative of someone that doesn't understand the process of government. To think that Barack Obama could just come in. There's an executive branch, there's a legislative branch, and there's a judicial branch. Each one of these work in tandem to get the will of the people done. And at this juncture, the problem that we experience is not in the executive branch, it's in the legislative.
There's been no transparency at all, and if he really wanted to get health care through, he would make concessions for the Americans that don't want to pay for other people's abortions. I mean,
But
that's something
again,
that if Democrats,
again,
abortion is not health care, that's one of the reasons why the bill is stalled. If he really cared about health care, that would be something he could concede.
You're both discussing the details of the process of the health care. I wonder, Amboka's listening from Nairobi. Kenya has got difficulties with its democracy. Do you look at the way that President Obama is having to deal with the democratic process in Washington with envy, or do you think actually America's democracy is showing signs of being out of date?
I think so. I think that it's too complicated for me in America. I don't think it's easy to come into office and simply change things overnight. If we're talking about black people being disappointed, they have waited for a very, very long time to have a black man or a black person in the White House. Why would they, a year later, simply say, we are disappointed? I think that in a country like ours, we've learned to be patient about certain things. It takes a while to get certain things done. And where you have the sort of opposition we have seen to his policies, I don't think it's ever going to be easy for anyone, let alone Barack Obama, to get some of those bills passed. It was always going to be tough. I think what he needs is a little more time. He's had just 1 year. I didn't expect him to accomplish much for us here. I don't think it's going to be easy for him in America either. But I think we have to understand that it's a lot more difficult today to get things done. What with the information flowing up and down, everybody reacting instantaneously to the things that are happening, at the White House and everywhere. I don't think it's ever going to be easy. So it's easy to criticize, and I think he should be criticized. He's president of the United States. Mm-hmm. But I think, to be fair to Barack Obama, it's been 1 year. He has come in at a time when America is suffering, bleeding badly. The economy was in a mess. There was a mess in Afghanistan that he didn't create in the Middle East. And I think that even the black people in America have to be a little more patient.
So you say